Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Pokemon Master video, and after I don't even know how many months, we're finally gonna do this again. And again, if you guys do like this format, this is what our fourth different kind of format doing these, because here's the thing, the reason why I haven't done one in a while is because I've been thinking about how to do this, right? Because last few formats, I guess folks weren't a huge fan of, and we'll try a different format this time, because here's the thing. This thing is incredibly hard to do. Because there are so many different factors you have to factor in into, again, the EX, the EX priority list. First of all, there's the different roles do different things, obviously. There's how good of a unit in of itself, right? Is it, in terms of if you should EX it, right? How good of that unit is, or how much it needs that buff. For example, Leaf is a good example of this. Leaf and Eevee, not an incredible support in of itself, but it gains a lot from getting that EX, right? But are you still gonna be EXing like Leaf over something like I don't know, something like a Hilbert, who's just straight up a S tier support, right, all around the board that you would run on multiple teams? Whereas in the case of Leaf, again, Leaf gains a lot from EXing, because then you'd actually have a real reason to use her sync move. She's just overall not that great of a support. She's still a good support, don't get me wrong, but she's not like Hilbert here, where you'd be running Hilbert on like every physical team, where Eevee, you're still finding niches to put her in, right? So there's that thing you have to weigh. There's the thing, where you have to weigh, how much this unit relies on the sync, right? How much it relies on getting that EX versus, a unit that's just already just dominant overall, even without it, but again, still gets a huge boost because of it. Like, there's just so many different factors, which makes it impossible to truly judge. And speaking of truly judging things, again, this is just going to be an overall idea. What really matters is still, it depends on what units you have, right? What your box looks like. Again, I can't go into every single one of your accounts and tell you what's what, right? Because that's your account. Obviously, everyone's accounts are different, right? The units they pull are different. So some priorities might be a bit more urgent for people, some maybe not as much. So again, there's just so many different factors. So if anyone is, again, arguing about that stuff in the comments down below, just point them back to this part of the video. Again, it just explains. This thing is just, there's even more factors that I'm not going to delve into here, but it's almost impossible to like all I mean, most of these lists obviously are subjective, but like this is like different levels of subjective, right? It just really depends on what you value more, right? What you value more, personally. So and different people value different things, which is fine, right? Different people just value different things. Anyways, let's get into the categorizations, and you will see why. I was talking about how difficult this was to categorize. So if we look at the categorizations, I have three big categories. One is support EXs. One is units that have impactful syncs, right? And then one is, just the big sync nukers, right? Stuff like a Marnie, a Leer, right? And supports. And then there are units who maybe have some stuff on sync, but the sync isn't like super whatever, but would definitely like the 20 out of 20 stat buffs, right? Because this time we're actually gonna consider the stat buffs and stuff, right? Something like a I don't know, Kyogre, right? The stat buffs are nice. Also has really decent sync, but like Kyogre sync isn't anything out of this world or whatever, right? Another example would be something like Luzamine, right? The stats would be nice, but in general her sync isn't anything amazing, right? So let's get into this then. Let's start with the supports on the top over here. So supports, in my opinion, again, my personal opinion, are the strongest EXs in the game. The support EX mechanic is just so broken, especially in 10k EX, or not 10k, 10k Master Mode Champion Stadium, just because of the boost that they give to your team, right? And the short amount of window time that you have for your team to eliminate the opponent's team, right? I do think Support EX generally gives you the best boost, the best bang for your buck in terms of syncing. Obviously, this is not true in every single case. I'm not going to say, oh, you should sync with your Rosa instead of syncing with your like Singsu Luzamine, right? That's, again, it depends, but I'd say in general. Plus, they are very much more universal because, you know, they're damage healers. You run them for specific enemies, right? Specific weaknesses, specific team comps. Supports, you know, one support you could insert into so many different team comps, right? There's just more team comps that you use supports in. So yeah, again, also, this is not like a tier list, by the way. This is not a tier list. This is not a tier list by any means. I'm not going to say, yeah, the thing at the top is just generally better. But for supports, generally, I'd say, there are certain supports that do different things that on their syncs that make them stand out a bit from other ones. But generally, I'd say you sync with the stronger supports, right? Because the stronger supports, you're running on more teams, you're using more often, and that's kind of the general rule with these EX units that you sync a lot with, right? And again, in this case, for support, it's going to be the strongest support. It's going to be something like an Alakazam, something like a Singsu Blue, Hilbert, whatever, right? So, okay, starting at the top here, the first category is just Support EX plus generally top tier supports, right? So these are pretty simple. Again, you could just follow like the Support EX or the support tier list. You got, you know, Singsu Blue is obviously fantastic still. You got Sabrina, obviously fantastic. On top of, you know, these two also do get their megas, right, with their mega stats, which is also another bonus on top of that. Hilbert's one of the best, you know, top tier supports in the game. Sonia also up there as well once she comes out. Celesteela is a fantastic support. Faulkner, easy, you know, one of the best, fastest offensive supports in the game. This guy, either Ingo or Emmett, I can't really tell. I think it's Ingo, right? Sandstorm support, all that stuff. You know the deal. Kiawe is like Faulkner, but with like worse offensive buffs, but better like defensively, right? Yeah, like again, for supports, it's just mainly not going to be that much different from your support tier list. Although Berg does get, you know, move gauge acceleration on sync, which is really nice, right? So I guess that would be our first category over there, right? Just support EX that are generally top tier supports, right? These are the units that you really just want to EX because you use them a lot, they're on a lot of teams, and they're very universal. You will more often than not easily be trying to sync with them just to get that first support EX buff in, just because of the fact that they're top tier supports that you run on almost every team, right? Moving on, this one's a bit different, which are support EX that gains a lot by syncing, but not, you know, as good overall as some of these, you know, in this category, right? That would be, again, something like we mentioned before. Leaf over here, right? She's a good support. She's not crazy, right? She's not crazy as a support. She's not going to be as universally used as like something like a Sabrina or I don't like Jasmine or whatever, right? By the way, these aren't ordered left or right. These are just, I just put them in order of which one I saw first in the pool, right? These are just not ordered left and right. But yeah, but she does get a lot from EXing, and I'd say in my personal opinion, unless you just really lack a lot of supports, there really isn't much of a use in ever running Leaf unless you have her EX, because her sync, like her use as a support is not very good because you have to sync with her to get those stats, which those stats generally aren't that crazy. It's only +2 on all those stats. You know, again, she does buff a lot of them. But if you're only just getting that for the sync, I just feel generally it's not worth it. It's just much better to bring like a real, you know, a support that doesn't have to rely on sync to buff those stats, and then sync with that support to get the support EX, instead of just using Leaf or just syncing with your you know, in that case, like a Striker Nuke or Tech Nuke or whatever instead. But if you do have Leaf EX, that just makes her so much worth using for that first sync, and it solves a lot of different team comp problems. A lot of damage dealers only have +4, right? There's a lot of units that have X special attack, X attack that only give you +4 on those certain stats, which again, in this case, one sync with Leaf fixes that problem, and again, you get that EX support buff as well, so it makes it very, very much worth syncing with. Another one, in this case, would be Caitlyn and Sableye, right? Caitlyn Sableye, in this case, right, not only does she give you the mega stats, right, the mega defensive stats, you're also getting that crit shield, you're getting the screens, right, the damage reductions, you're also getting a team sync heal as well, right? So even though, again, she's not as good as like any of these supports up here, but like her overall, you know, use from syncing is definitely very, very good. And again, it's not like she's a bad support either. Overall, she's a pretty good support in of itself, right? And another one I'd say would be Dawn, just because she has a really good sync nuke. Her sync nuke is very, very powerful, right? She has a really, really powerful sync nuke. On top of, again, just being a solid, you know, support EX, right? And then one more I'd say we could probably do, which would be, I think, where is she? Skyla, which was free, but, you know, unfortunately for those who didn't get that, I guess it's not free anymore, right? But Skyla, just because she also has Fanfare on her sync, right? She also has Fanfare on her sync. Which again could max out that extra. It's kind of like Leaf, but like worse, right? It's only for like it's like Leaf, but only for physical attack instead of all the stats, right? Moving on, we got some just solid support EXs. Again, some of these units may or may not do some stuff on sync, right? But again, I just don't find it as impactful as like any of these other ones up here, right? For example, Lilybi, solid support overall. Again. She does do something on sync, which, if I remember correctly, is like team gradual heals or something. It's like between her and Lily, one has like team like regular heals, one has like team gradual heals. I think Lilybi's the one with gradual heals, right? Again, it's stuff like this, like where I don't really find the thing that she does on sync that as impactful as something like, again, a Leaf's. Whatever Leaf does, whatever Caitlyn does, or Dawn does, right? It's nice to have, but we're not going to really factor that in that much, right? It's just because she's a solid support overall, right? She's just a solid support in of itself, right? So yeah, stuff like that. Lilybi, Rotom over here, Snorlax, right? You got Phoebe, Elio, right? Again, like these units, Elio does have like team status cure on sync, which again, I don't really factor that into that, you know, that much, right? Regularly with the regular heals, Obstagoon, again, just a solid support, being, you know, crit support over there, right? With some offensive, physical attack buffs as well, right? And there is one more that I'm kind of... Oh, another one is Rosanta, right? She is pretty good in the Hail teams now, right? Which is nice. One more I am kind of in between is Jasmine. Jasmine is definitely one of these types, right? You get a Mega, right? You get recuperation for yourself, right? You get those Mega stats. But she's definitely not as good as any of these supports, right? I don't think she's as good as any of these units either. She's kind of like in like a between stage between like this and this, right? Where she's, in terms of like support wise, she's not that great of a support, but she does get a decent amount from syncing. So, and I don't want to make like a tier just for her, you know, herself to be in there. So she's just kind of like in between, I guess. These two, right? And then the last one is just, they are still support EXs, but they're just not, again, either that great of supports or just generally get outclassed, right? So, you know, stuff like Hilarica just gets outclassed by Xerneas, right? Stuff like that. You know, there's better defense supports, all that stuff. Rosa's free. Not everyone has it though, like me. But anyways, okay. Moving on, we have we're going into damage dealers, right? So starting off, these are very impactful syncs that have relatively easy syncs to set up that also have very good DPS, right? These are like units that are just generally very, very good units. That would be stuff like your Luzamines, right? Singsu Luzamine, very, very powerful sync. In fact, the strongest striker sync in the game, on top of having very, very good DPS with Prismatic Laser. Also, again, her striker sync is not super, super hard to set up. It's not like it's, you know, Cakewalk or whatever, right? So, again, stuff like Cakewalk, not very easy to set up, or Durox Nuke. So yeah, so you do have that relatively easy to set up sync nuke, very, very good DPS. Units like Lear also do that as well, right? Stuff like Singsuit Erica, right, as well. So yeah, and Leon, obviously, the other Charizard, obviously, as well. You have Reshiram, also, you know, again, good DPS, pretty good sync nuke. Although Reshiram's sync nuke isn't like as good, but you know, it's still there, right? Where's can I find Hilda, please? I can't. Oh, there it is. Hilda as well, right? Has a solid sync nuke, pretty good DPS. Also, you get the mega with the move gauge, you know, decrease thing, which is nice. Move gauge discount. Decrease sounds like your move gauges are like gone or whatever. Same with B, right? Solid DPS, solid sync nuke. Keldeo, that's another big one, right? Crabominable, if I could find it. Yep, there it is. Really, really good sync nuke. DPS still pretty good as well. Same with this guy. As well as the other rock dude. Where's the other rock dude? Rock guy? Emmett? I think you're Emmett, right? Either Ingo or Emmett. I think it's Emmett. And what else? Guzma, this Guzma as well. Solid sync nuke, pretty good DPS on top of that. Just these are just overall really complete units, right? Relatively complete units. Again, this is not like a tier list, not a tier list. Not all these units are better than units, you know, underneath it or whatever, right? This is just, again, this is the category for units that have relatively impactful syncs. Where else? Hilbert, right? Has that Haymaker with pretty solid dark type DPS as well. Marnie, right? One of the strongest, you know, top syncs in the game, on top of having very powerful power trips. Leon as well, also in that category. Brendan, right? You got the inertia, the sun stuff, ramming speed, right? Very, very, again, overall good sync, good DPS. I think that's generally it, right? Yeah, I think that's generally it. And then for the next category, we have our great utility units that also have pretty great nukes, right? Can also DPS. Some of these can DPS, some of these maybe not. But some of these could also DPS, but they generally don't really focus on that really much, right? For example, Serena, right? Serena has a DPS as strong as that, you know, Red's Blast Burn, but you generally don't do that because her other functions are so much, you know, busted, right? That you mess around with that as well, right? And again, obviously, her sync nuke is incredibly powerful. So against units like Serena, like Champion Iris, right? She does have a DPS that you can run with Dragon Rush. It's just, again, generally not that good to set up, right? Her main thing that shines is her really powerful nuke, right? Also, she does have the utility of the team speed or move gauge acceleration, right? Which is very good. What else? Oh, this Serena as well. Really easy to set up sync nuke. Has team speed buffs, right? Paralysis stuff. This Erica Flinch has random team buffs. Really powerful nuke as well. Let's see. Singsu Leaf, again, she can DPS, right? Her Frenzy Plants are really powerful, but she can also do all the utility stuff with the potion, the mega healing, whatever it's called, gradual healing, right? As well as maybe tank some, and also again, very powerful sync nuke, as well as you become mega after sync with the extra stats and stuff, which are nice. So yeah, Mallow does the Mallow stuff. Confusion, not that anyone cares that much, but you know, again, can also, all these can can do stuff DPS wise, right? All of these can do stuff DPS wise, but they don't exactly focus on that while also still having a very, very powerful sync nuke. Again, stuff like Reshiram, right? He has really, really nice DPS. It's just his sync nuke is just so good, right? Oh, also he has move gauge television, which is fantastic. Let's see, what else? Let's say, where's my notes? Oh yeah, I left one out of the first category, which is Swampert, right? Obviously, Swampert's Muddy Waters, incredible, right? The one I was trying to look for, oh, there it is, finally found it, Nessa over here, right? Nessa, again, very, very good DPS, but the nuke is insane. One of the top top nukes in the game. You also have stuff like Summer Marnie, very, very good nuke as well. Again, could do a lot of other things, like be a tank for his Triple Striker team, among other great things that she does. So, oh, also got this guy as well, Masrael, and Incineroar has team speed buffs, right? And I think the last one, Drak does the defog stuff, evasion down, but also again does have a pretty solid sync nuke, also the speed buff for your team, right? So yeah, like these guys are kind of like these four are very, very, very similar units, right? So yeah, you got those. Next are good sync units that heavily rely on their sync damage. I'm not saying they can't DPS, but their DPS is obviously not on the levels of some of these other units up there, but units that really, really rely on their syncs, right? For example, like Olivia, right? Her DPS is not very good, but she does have a very, very powerful sync that, again, really relies on that sync to do their main damage functions, right? So again, stuff like Olivia over here. Let's see what else. Steven, right? His DPS is honestly terrible, but his sync does really, you know, carry him in terms of his overall damage production, right? Same thing with stuff like Elisa. Her DPS is not terrible, it's just that she doesn't survive that long, even with all the standfast nodes. Again, same thing with Hilda over here, right? Units like these, Celine, right? DPS not that great. But again, does have that going for her. Where's Leon over here? Same thing. DPS can be great if you're willing to wait for the opponent to sync, which in 10k master mode, by the time they sync, you are probably dead. Which is why, again, I think supporting Exes are so important, because they get you start hitting really, really early on, right before the opponents can sync and take you out, right? So, again, other units like Barry, terrible DPS, but very, very powerful sync nuke, right? Where's our boy Sydney? Yep, Sydney does like no damage outside of his nuke, right? But again, pretty solid nuke. Same with this guy, he has like one like big damaging move, right? Also, you know, this guy as well, right? There's one big damaging move, but outside of that, you gotta go for the nuke, right? Same thing with the new Elisa, right? You got that one max move, which is nice, but generally your DPS is not really great. And you mostly rely on your sync nuke to do your damage, which, by the way, she has a fantastic sync nuke. Moving on, let's see what else. Oh, is there a better example of this category than Singsu Misty, right? She literally does not do anything damage-wise outside of her sync. She has a very, very powerful sync. Relatively hard to set up, but powerful sync that she does like no damage outside of that, right? So, yeah, it's just units like that. Berg, again, not saying Berg can't do damage outside of the sync. He can. It's just not incredible, but his nuke definitely is very, very solid. Oh, another great example of this, right? Mr. Where is he? Where's our guy? Nate, which, by the way, again, I mentioned before, if we're getting to 40k subs before next year, at the end of this year, I will EX my Nate. I still don't know why I said that, just out of pure boredom. But I'm, again, not really worried, because we're not going to hit that, so we're fine. Nate, right, he does have that inertia nuke, right? But again, his DPS is horrible, right? It's not something that you can generally rely on to win you a game, right? So like a lot of these can be used as like secondary damage dealers in terms of the DPS, right? Stuff like, again, Berg, all that stuff, but mostly you're just relying on the sync nuke. Again, Plumeria, another one of these examples. Great sync, right? DPS not that good, right? Same with Morty. Sync's pretty good. DPS non-existent almost. The other Morty as well, right? The two Mortys here. What else? We got Lyra. Lyra also, right? Sync's solid, but again, DPS is a bit lacking. Let's see. Am I missing anyone? Oh yeah, this guy heavily relies on the sync to do a lot of his damage. Memerola, right? Her sync really good. Everything else really bad, really bad. Alistar, another one of those, right? Kind of like again, like these guys up here, right? Anything else? Yeah, Candace, the ice punches are not real, right? But the sync is definitely real. Grimsley is another great example of this, right? Although his DPS is probably better than like everyone else here. Don't fact check me on that though. I didn't. It's just a random statement. But still, right? Does definitely have that issue. So yeah, those, you know, again, they heavily rely on their syncs, but generally not as effective otherwise, right? Which again does come back to the thing of what do you value more, that I talked at the beginning. Do you value making units that generally aren't that great to like make them more usable, which would be a lot of these units over here, right? Because like again, if you're not really syncing with Nate, why are you ever running him, right? Unless you're a Nate fan, which, you know, no offense to Nate fans. I mean, I love when people love characters that I don't like, right? Not that I hate Nate or whatever. He's just probably my least favorite protagonist. Just I don't care too much about it. I'm sorry. Again, if you like him, you know, I'll power to you. But Nate in general, right? If you're not syncing with him, if you're not getting that inertia syncing, why are you running him, right? So some people might value this a bit more than units that, you know, are already, you know, very powerful. But then again, the other argument is, you know, why would you EX a unit that's like, for example, why would you ever EX Lear, right? He's overkilling regardless. Well, you can, and we had this debate, right? As well. Well, the reason would be, if you EX Lear, right, then he could off-type 10k one-shot the opponent's mid without having to run him in psychic team comps, which frees up a lot of team comps, right, for certain stages, right? For example, if you don't have that many great ground type units, you throw in Lear in there, EX him, he's still gonna one-shot that mid on your 10k master mode run, right? So again, it's not like there aren't any value to like these so-called overkill nukes, right? There definitely is value over there, right? But yeah, again, it really depends on how much you value. It depends on your own box, your own situation, right? Which is, again, go back to that first statement that I mentioned earlier. It's very hard to judge these. There's so many different factors. There's personal factors, there's value, you know, factors, right? And there's also pure, you know, objective factors that are also very hard to discern, right? So anyways, is discern the right word? I don't know. Anyways, moving on. So these are units that don't have as impactful syncs, but if you want to EX them, at least, you know, or at least 20 out of 20 of them, maybe not EX them, but, you know, that extra stats are nice, right? So yeah, going in there, so the first category is mostly would like the 20 out of 20 stats, but also has some use on sync and just generally powerful units, right? In this case, Groudon Kyogre, right? Their syncs aren't crazy. I mean, they do have some stuff on their syncs, right? Again, not saying, you know, they don't, right? Because they both do. For example, Kyogre, you have Shower Sync, gives you an extra rain, which is cool. And then you have Shower Power 3. Again, it's something. Shower Power 3 isn't that good. It's only a 30% boost, right? So it's not like that good, but it's something, right? So these are units, again, that have something on their syncs, but, you know, don't heavily rely on it at all. Like, you could straight up never sync with Kyogre, and he's still one of the 3 best units in the game, right? So yeah, they have some stuff on the sync that you can use, but aren't anything crazy. But they're just overall very, very powerful units, right? Same thing with Annie Lily, right? She does have some stuff on her sync, but like you could completely ignore it, and she's still a fantastic unit overall, right? She has what, Double Down 2, right? It's something. It's Double Down and Brain Sync 3, right? It's something. It's not crazy, right? And same thing with the another one, which would be Duraludon. I think he has like Sandblaster 3 or 5 or something, right? So it's not, it's not like he heavily relies on this to survive. Yeah, Sandblaster 5, but he has it. It exists. It's good, right? But without it, you're not, It's just, if you are gonna EX him, it's just the stats are nice, right? The extra stats are always gonna be good from 20 out of 20. Moving on, we have the all right. Next year we actually have units that have pretty, like, in terms of like numbers wise, like these are pretty good multipliers on their sync. But you generally still don't want to sync with them because their syncs are not that easy to set up, right? Or just not worth setting up, right? So they'd still like the 20 out of 20 stats are nice, but the nukes aren't exactly worth setting up, right? Stuff like Wally, right? Wally does have Cakewalk, which is a thing. That's a 2x multiplier in your sync, right? But are you really gonna run a AOE speed debuffer on your team when Wally still needs someone to max out his offensive stats, right? Would you really run a unit like that over either just straight up syncing with a support EX, or just running a secondary damage dealer like a Keldeo, who just has a better sync, right? So yeah, these units do have that thing, but a lot of times it's just not worth going for, right? So stuff like Wally, Gardevoir's another great example of that, right? She has Devastation, right? Oh my god, there's so many units in this game right now. Yeah, Devastation. Same thing with Alder, right? Same thing with Alder. And Lycia, right? Again, you do have the multipliers there for this thing, but is it really worth going for it, right? Is it really worth going for it? What else? We have, let's see. Oh, Gloria's the other one, right? If you wait for your opponent to sync, you'll have that 2x multiplier, which again, a lot of times, if you're running offense parameters, means you're gonna die, right? So it's not really worth going for. A lot of times it's just, again, a lot of these cases, it's just better to sync with someone else in your team, right? But again, if you do want to EX them, the extra stats are definitely nice, right? So moving on, next here, again, these are very, very specific, very, very specifically named, because again, I'm trying my best to accomplish this really, really hard task, right? So again, would mostly like the stats, but also have rather uninteresting sync moves. Like, they have something on their sync, but it's not super interesting to go for, right? For example, let's see, Guzma. Does he have something on his sync? Yes. Should you care? Probably not, right? It's Catastrophe 2 with like some extra sync move power-up nodes. And he has like really good physical attack. Is it really worth caring about? Not really. But again, it also comes back to the point of, if you don't have a good bug-type damage dealer, right? Having a Striker, EX, nuke with Guzma. Guzma's your only like bug-type damage dealer. Again, so it really, really just all depends on your personal situation, all that stuff, right? So, but even if that's the case, I'd probably just wait until I pull up a better bug-type, honestly. He does have a cool outfit, though. So there's that, right? Again, stuff like Pound Times Dawn. You do have that. innate tech nuke, which is nice. You also debuff the opponent's special defense, which, you know, that also, it's not like a nuke multiplier, but it makes you do more damage, right? Same with like Wallace, right? You have the tech innate, you have rain going for you because you're water type, right? And also, I don't know why I named this chapter. This should be pool. I noticed that a bit too late. Whoops. Anyways, sorry about that. It's just the pool of units. What else? Luxray, again, you got the tech innate, you got electric terrain. Musharna, the tech innate, the psychic terrain boost, right? It's just like a lot of, in these cases, these two cases, right? You're generally just the terrain setter where you want someone else to nuke, right? when you're running Volkner, you want your Emolga to nuke, you want your Marnie to nuke, you want your N to nuke, right? Same thing with Bianca. Yeah, they objectively have solid nukes, right? That are just uninteresting to use, right? Because like again with Musharna, you're nuking with your Mewtwo, you're nuking with your Luzamine, right? Or Singsu Luzamine, not the regular one. you're nuking with all these other units, right? So yeah, same for Gloria. I think she has like Catastrophe 2 or something, I want to say, plus Rain, right? Yeah, Catastrophe 2 plus Rain. It's just like, yeah, it's there, it's just not very interesting to work with, right? And then here are like units that like they like do something on sync, like you're syncing with them multiple times anyways, just because of like other things that are on their sync, but it's not, you know, it's not like their sync nukes are anything crazy, right? It's Steven. Are you Steven? Yeah, you're syncing with him anyways, so you're always getting like that hail on the sync, so might as well, right? Again, he does have stuff like Flinch Hitter, Freezer Burner, but like, first of all, you can't activate both at once. You can only have the opponent frozen or flinched at once, right? You can't have them both flinch and frozen because that's just game mechanic wise doesn't work, right? Plus these are also in the category of not worth setting up slash really hard to set up, right? Slash even if you do set it up, it doesn't really do that much damage, right? So it's just a unit that you're just syncing with anyways, just to get the stuff, right? Same thing with Cynthia. Yeah, she also has like Static Shock 2 or something that again would also be in the rather uninteresting, you know, category, right? Static Shock, oh, Static Shock 5, okay, right? Rather uninteresting setup. Like, are you really going to bring another paralysis unit just for the extra 50% on a relatively not very powerful nuke, right? Or a sync move. Just calling everything nukes these days. But she does get the extra stat buffs on high 5, right? Especially you have high 5 2, right? 3 out of 5, you have high 5 2, then, you know, you are generally just syncing with her for the stats anyways, right? If not, mostly just get the defense back from losing it in clanging scales. Another one would be this guy, right? You get like rejuvenate some gauges back, you get the heals back, I guess, right? So you're always just syncing with him anyways, right? So that's nice. If you're running him as a tank, if you're running him as damage hero, then there's no point, right? There's no point. Moving on into the just give me the stats gang, which are just units that really want the stats, like Luzamine. You want the stats for Luzamine, right? There's nothing really on her sync, right? And then there's like some other units that like you sync once, right? For example, like Maybun, like you sync once, the first sync, you get her to Mega, you max out her physical attack, right? Outside of that, everything is just, you just want the stats, right? Same thing with stuff like Karina. All right, you just want the stats. Blue, you want the stats, right? Outside of that first Mega, right? You're not syncing with this guy again. You're not syncing with Karina a second time, right? I mean, you can, it's just not, there's just better options to sync with. Rayquaza, don't even want to sync with him once because his Mega just gives you some speed, which is useful in some very rare scenarios, right? But other than that, you just want to sync with someone else, unless you want to see the big, you know, big Mega Dragon, which looks very cool, which I love, right? But like outside of that, well, I don't love it that much, but you know, outside of that, like you want to sync with something else, right? An actual nuke or support EX. It just does much better for his stats than making a Mega, right? ISU again, these units, you just want some stats in there, right? Garchomp, same as these guys, right? These, yeah, the 20 out of 20 stats are nice, but like you don't really get that much out of the syncs. And then this guy is like, you like Grimsley a lot. All right, gets his own tier. Yeah, again, this is just my personal rankings that I based off of the base idea was actually from a runner's list that he has, with heavy modifications, right? So shout out to Runner, we did discuss a lot of these, but yeah, again, go back to my previous statement at the start of this video in terms of why this could be very, very controversial and very, very different for different users, right? Again, what you value is a huge part of it, what you have in your box, which units you have, which stages you're struggling with, those all are a huge factor in that. Again, I can't go into every single one of your accounts and tell you what's probably the best for you. This is, again, just a general idea. Also, again, this is not a tier list, right? Just different, you know, categories of what units that you're trying to go for, right? And what else was I going to say? Oh, and also, this also does not account for the, in my opinion, the most important factor, which ones look cool. Which outfits look good. All right. Which is very, very important as well. But again, we're not factoring that in here. I'm not factoring your favorite unit, right? I'm not factoring, oh, well, again, well, except for Grimsley, right? If you like Grimsley a lot. This guy has nothing going for him. So, yeah, and not factoring, oh, I love blue. Blue, I'm gonna EX him first. If you love blue, EX him first, right? Again, EX units that you use a lot, EX units that you like, right? Those should also go into consideration for you. But since I don't know what you like, I don't know what units that you use a lot, I can't tell you that, right? So this is, again, just in general, in terms of their uses, how powerful they are in general, how much better they get with their EXs, how much they'll rely on these EXs, right? So just a general idea. So again, if people are still having issues with that, they probably didn't watch the first part of the video. Just direct them back to the first part of the video and then we're all good, right? So yeah, that's really this one, I guess. Hope you all enjoyed. My guys, think in the comments down below. Let me know if you think this format is a bit better. If this is a bit better, we could go forward with this. You know, moving forward, right? In the coming months, as well. So hopefully this is good now. I've spent months thinking about this. I've actually spent months thinking about this. Again, there's no perfect solution to making these. But I tried my best, okay? So, have fun, folks, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.